He slapped a soldier. He defied direct orders. He nearly started World War III. And through it all, Eisenhower had to clean up the mess. George S. Patton was arguably the most brilliant battlefield commander America ever produced, but he was also Eisenhower's biggest headache. Today we're diving into 15 shocking things Patton did that left Eisenhower absolutely stunned. Some of these will make you laugh, others will make you question how Patton kept his command at all. Stick around for number 7. It almost ended both their careers. The relationship between Dwight D. Eisenhower and George S. Patton was one of the most complex in military history. Eisenhower, the diplomatic supreme commander, had to constantly balance Patton's tactical genius against his volatile personality. They were friends since the 1920s, but World War II tested that friendship like nothing else. Eisenhower once said that Patton was indispensable to the war effort, but admitted he spent more time managing Patton than almost any other aspect of the European campaign. Number 15. Ignored the uniform code. While Eisenhower demanded strict military discipline, Patton created his own fashion statement: ivory-handled revolvers, custom-tailored uniforms, a polished helmet, and riding boots from the 19th century. He famously said, "Only a pimp from a cheap New Orleans whorehouse would carry a pearl-handled pistol." His guns were ivory. Eisenhower tried to rein in these theatrical displays, but Patton's distinctive appearance became psychological warfare. Soldiers could spot him from hundreds of yards away, and the Germans genuinely feared him. Eventually, Eisenhower realized Patton's flamboyance was actually a weapon, though it wasn't what he'd have chosen for his commanders. Number 14. Wrote poetry. During battle planning, Eisenhower discovered Patton wasn't just studying maps. He was writing poetry about death, reincarnation, and ancient warfare. Patton genuinely believed he'd lived past lives as a warrior, fighting with Alexander the Great and Napoleon's cavalry. Eisenhower was baffled. Here was a general coordinating massive operations, contemplating his supposed death at Carthage. But Patton's mysticism had benefits. His study of ancient campaigns gave him strategic insights conventional generals missed. Eisenhower thought it bizarre, but couldn't argue with results. Number 13. Kept a bull terrier who terrorized headquarters. Patton's white bull terrier, Willie, was aggressive and bit several officers. He attacked a dignitary, growled during briefings, and marked territory on military documents. Multiple officers suggested Eisenhower order Patton to get rid of the dog. But Eisenhower knew Willie was one of few things keeping Patton emotionally grounded. So he tolerated it, adding Patton's dog to his long list of Patton problems for the sake of winning the war. Number 12. Challenged Eisenhower's authority publicly. During Overlord planning, Patton openly disagreed with Eisenhower's strategy in front of other commanders, arguing the Normandy breakout was too conservative. This created an awkward situation where Eisenhower's authority was questioned by his subordinate in front of British Field Marshal Montgomery. Eisenhower had to remind Patton that military hierarchy existed for a reason. Patton apologized, but never stopped believing his plan was better, showing his ego sometimes overrode protocol. Number 11. Conducted personal reconnaissance behind enemy lines. Eisenhower's orders were clear: stay behind the front lines. Patton ignored this completely. He took a jeep and personally reconnoitered enemy positions, sometimes within rifle range of Germans. The enemy had a bounty on his head. If captured, it would be catastrophic. Eisenhower explicitly ordered him to stop. Patton agreed to his face and continued anyway, just more discreetly. He believed you couldn't lead from a chateau 20 miles back. It gave Eisenhower constant anxiety. Number 10. Spent army funds on personal luxuries. While soldiers ate K rations, Patton requisitioned fine china, crystal, and vintage wines. Eisenhower was not amused. Patton defended it. He hosted French officials and resistance leaders where relationships were built. He argued presenting American leadership with dignity was part of winning hearts and minds. Eisenhower understood the logic, but thought Patton went overboard. There's proper hospitality, then there's living like Renaissance royalty in a war zone. Number 9. Diverted fuel from other armies. The fuel crisis of September 1944 forced Eisenhower to carefully allocate resources. Patton simply took what he wanted, ordering supply officers to appropriate fuel meant for other units. Montgomery complained Patton was stealing British fuel. Bradley reported American armies were shortchanged. Patton's defense? His army advanced faster and achieved more. Why waste fuel on cautious commanders? This undermined Eisenhower's entire strategic system. But again, Patton's results were undeniably impressive. Number 8. Advocated rearming German soldiers against the Soviets. As the war ended in 1945, Patton became vocal about the Soviet threat. He didn't just suggest caution with Stalin, he proposed keeping Wehrmacht units intact and rearming them to fight the Red Army. Eisenhower was horrified. The Allied coalition was built on Soviet cooperation. Patton told reporters the wrong people won certain aspects of the war, politically catastrophic comments. Eisenhower had to do diplomatic damage control at the highest levels and essentially muzzled him. This wasn't just unexpected, it was dangerous to international stability. Number 7. The infamous slapping incidents. In August 1943, Patton visited field hospitals in Sicily and encountered soldiers with combat fatigue. Believing this was cowardice, he slapped 2 soldiers and berated them. When the press learned of this, there were calls for court-martial. Eisenhower faced the biggest command crisis of the war. He knew France's invasion needed Patton's skills, but condoning this behavior set a terrible precedent. His solution was brilliant but questionable. Temporarily relieve Patton, force public apologies, issue severe reprimand, but don't send him home. Instead, use him as a Normandy decoy. The decision haunted Eisenhower for years. He saved Patton's career, but faced criticism for not punishing him more severely. Number 6. Released prisoners to fight again. During the rapid advance across France, Patton's Third Army captured thousands of Germans. Processing POWs slowed his advance, so he did something extraordinary, disarmed German soldiers and told them to go home. No processing, no camps. When Eisenhower's staff discovered this, they were stunned. This violated Geneva Conventions and meant soldiers could return to combat. Patton's logic was coldly practical. His mission was speed, not babysitting prisoners. Eisenhower officially ordered him to stop, but by then thousands were already released. Number 5. Planned a raid to rescue his son-in-law. Patton's son-in-law, Lieutenant Colonel Waters, was held at a German POW camp. When Patton learned the location, he ordered a raid. The Hammelburg operation in March 1945 was presented as humanitarian, but everyone knew Patton's personal connection influenced it. The raid was a disaster. The task force decimated. Waters wounded, prisoners recaptured, significant American casualties. Had Patton risked soldiers' lives for family? The optics were terrible. It was one of Patton's few clear tactical failures, showing even brilliant commanders make questionable decisions when family is involved. Number 4. Employed former Nazis in occupied Germany. After Germany's defeat, Patton was appointed military governor of Bavaria. He needed administrators to run basic services: water, electricity, sanitation. The problem? Most qualified administrators were former Nazi Party members. Patton's solution was pragmatic, but politically explosive. Employ former Nazis if they had technical expertise. He compared Nazi Party membership to being a Democrat or Republican in America, just politics. Eisenhower and Washington were appalled. This wasn't just poor judgment. It contradicted Allied denazification policy. Eisenhower removed Patton from the governorship. Patton never understood why his practical approach caused such outrage. Number 3. Made inflammatory statements to the press. Patton had zero filter with reporters. He made inflammatory comments about politics, strategy, and the Soviets constantly. Every statement created diplomatic incidents Eisenhower had to manage. He called the Russians barbarians, criticized Allied politicians, and expressed opinions that contradicted official policy. Eisenhower repeatedly ordered him to stop talking to the press. Patton would comply briefly, then do it again. Toward the end, Eisenhower essentially banned Patton from press conferences, the only way to control the damage. Number 2. threatened to resign multiple times. Whenever Eisenhower reprimanded him, Patton's response was often to threaten resignation. It was emotional manipulation. Patton knew Eisenhower needed him and used that leverage. After the slapping incident, after being denied resources, after being reassigned, Patton would dramatically offer to resign. Eisenhower had to talk him down each time, balancing Patton's ego against military necessity. It was exhausting. Eisenhower later wrote that managing Patton's emotions was like handling a thoroughbred horse. Valuable, but high maintenance. Number 1. Died in a preventable car accident. The most unexpected thing Patton did was survive an entire war, only to die in a traffic accident. December 1945, Patton was riding in a car near Mannheim, Germany. The vehicle collided with a truck. Patton suffered spinal injuries and died 12 days later. After surviving countless battles, close calls with enemy fire, and risky reconnaissance missions, he died in a mundane accident. Eisenhower was devastated. Despite all the headaches, Patton was his friend. The tragic irony wasn't lost on anyone. One of history's greatest warriors didn't fall in combat, but in a routine car ride. Some historians still debate whether it was truly an accident, though no credible evidence suggests otherwise. George S. Patton was a contradiction, a tactical genius with the emotional regulation of a child, a brilliant strategist who couldn't follow basic orders, a warrior poet who lived in both ancient Rome and modern warfare. Eisenhower's relationship with him defined much of the Allied success in Europe, but also gave Eisenhower some of his worst moments as Supreme Commander. The 15 things we covered today show a man who was indispensable yet impossible, brilliant yet reckless, a hero and a liability simultaneously. Eisenhower once said, "You beat Patton's head against a wall until he drops from exhaustion, but when he gets up, you've won the battle." That summarizes their entire relationship: frustrating, exhausting, but ultimately victorious. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of World War II's most complex relationships, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. We've got more untold stories from history coming your way. Stories about the people behind the headlines, the controversies behind the victories, and the truth behind the legends. Drop a comment below telling us which historical figure you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.